So, Chapter 1, Part 1, Mantra 1. Om. Brahma, creator of the universe, protector of the world, was first of the gods. To the oldest son, Artavan, he imparted the knowledge of Brahman, which is the foundation of all knowledge. So, let's start with this phrase, the foundation of knowledge. He imparted the knowledge of Brahman, which is the foundation of all knowledge. So this is a concept that we'll return to throughout the text, and that is of subtlety. And so we talk about subtle and gross in this text and in other texts. The knowledge of Brahman is called the subtlest, or beyond the subtle, or very subtle, this kind of idea. So what does it mean for something to be subtle? What does it mean for something to be gross? So one of the ways that we can start to approach this quite central concept is to say that the subtle is necessary for the existence of the gross, but not vice versa. Anything that depends upon something else for its existence has no intrinsic reality of its own. Anything that depends upon something else for its existence is gross. Whatever it depends upon, that thing is subtle. So, when we talk about the foundation of knowledge, what are we referring to here? So this is where the Upanishads really excel, because yes, of course, they are delivering content, they are delivering ideas, ideology, but they're contemplative in the sense that what they're asking us to do is to just directly look at your immediate experience. When we talk about the idea or the concept of contemplation, what exactly is it? Again, no single answer will encompass all of it, so we can approach it from different ways. And this is one of the ways that we can look at what contemplation is just having that humility and curiosity to inquire into the nature of what's happening to you right now. So you don't need to believe things that you can't prove. We talk about the law of karma, we talk about reincarnation. We have to adopt these things on faith. We can't prove that the law of karma exists. We can't prove that reincarnation exists. There's an element of faith that is necessary for us to adopt those into our ideology. Contemplation is free from all of that. Contemplation, all you need is your experience. And so when you look at your experience, you just let your awareness fall onto whatever is appearing to you in consciousness. And inquire as to how is it possible for this to be known. I am having an experience. And this is the beauty of something like mindfulness. We often think of a mindfulness practice as you sit nice and quietly in a beautiful surrounding. That can be useful because when the environment is calm, it affords us a degree of calmness just by us identifying with that environment. But truly, mindfulness can be done in the noisiest of environments. You can practice it. Because all you're doing is becoming aware of the contents of your consciousness. How is it that I'm able to be aware of this? What is necessary for the existence of this experience? What underlies it? What is the foundation without which this experience cannot arise? This cannot be known to me. What does it mean to be conscious of something? These are quite simple questions in the sense that they don't have lots of complex moving parts to them, but they are extremely deep, or they take us very deep. The answer to that question in terms of language is Brahman. How is this experience known? Through Brahman. What does it mean to be conscious of something? It means that Brahman, the knowing principle, is allowing this experience right now. And so that's what he says in the very first mantra. The knowledge of Brahman, which is the foundation of all knowledge. And so knowledge here doesn't just refer to concepts and ideas. You are currently knowing your physical body. How do you know it? You know it as pressure and sensation. You know it as temperature. You know it as the aches and pains. You know it as whatever you know it as. You know your mind as a flow of thoughts and an attendant environment or atmosphere of feeling tone. You know it. Eat an orange and you know the orange. It's your perceptions, it's your emotions, it's your thoughts. It's that which is known to you. So it's the knowing principle per se. That is Brahman. It just gives it a word. Also represented by the very first word of the text, which is Om. The very first word of the invocation, Om. So, this first verse invokes the mythology of Brahma. Okay, as we've touched on many times, Brahma, not to be confused with Brahman. Brahma is one of the gods of the Vedic Trinity. Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So Brahma is the creator of the universe. How did Brahma come into existence? How did Brahma have offspring? But nonetheless, there is the offspring, and the first or the eldest son of Brahma is Artavan. And he imparted the knowledge of Brahman to Artavan. So this initiates the master-student lineage. All absorption of spiritual knowledge especially is a combination of mind and intellect. There is always the participation of the mind, and the premier emotional quality of a student is, of course, humility, that openness, that receptivity. Even if something doesn't make sense, even if it opposes what I currently know, I'm going to allow it in.
Yeah, okay.
The intellectual side, of course, is to say, well, now that you're in, now that you're here, I'm going to assess you. So the beauty of a lot of these texts is that they actually appeal to different types of student. Because if you have a student who is more devotional, and you'll see this in one of the verses coming up, there's all of these ideas as to what the knowledge of Brahman is, and imperceptible and eternal and all of that. And you can go through and analyze each one of those. If you're someone who is predominantly devotional, what a headache. I don't want to go through and think about all of these, and what's the distinction between eternal and ancient? I mean, aren't they the same thing? Why do we have to have all of these hair-splitting concepts? It's too much for someone who's primarily devotional. It's just not their interest. But they can get into that flow of, say, Lord Brahma, sitting, creating all this. And then from him flows his progeny, and through them this beautiful knowledge of self. And here I am, the end recipient of this enormous lineage. They feel themselves part of something larger. And at the same time, they are hearing these concepts and these ideas for which they have an appreciation. They're not devoid of intellect. They have their own understanding. But they are taking it in the appropriate proportion for them. 80% devotion, 20% intellect. Someone else says, it's a nice poem. I love the poem. It's got some lovely sounds to it when you hear it chanted, and I like the story. It's a beautiful story. Really opens up my awareness. But I want to know what he's talking about. And they are taking it in the correct proportions for them. 20% devotion, 80% intellect. So these texts, the reason that they have lasted so long is that they are so widely applicable to wide audiences, as well as containing universal truths.